Imagine, in just a few minutes, hearing something that will change the way you view every conversation, every look, every action of others, forever. I'm not exaggerating. These are principles your father didn't tell you, your teachers didn't teach you, and most men will go their entire lives without ever knowing. Not because they don't want to, but because they were never taught. 500 years ago, there was a man named Niccolò Machiavelli. He wrote down the most dangerous truths about human nature, the bare, unvarnished, unmoralized truths. They were so disturbing that they were banned by the Catholic Church. Yet so powerful that the world's most powerful leaders secretly studied them. And the thing is, these are not vague theories. They are not ifs or maybes. They are the operating manual of humanity, how we really think, how we really react, how we really act, not how we pretend or wish we would. Have you ever wondered, if this is true, why haven't I heard it? The answer is simple. Your father didn't teach you because he didn't know. Your teachers didn't mention it because they never learned it themselves. And society wants you to believe that understanding power is bad. They want you to think that thinking strategically is scheming, that it's manipulative, that looking at reality head-on is pessimistic, that it's cynical. But here's the truth that few dare to say. Ignorance is not a virtue. Ignorance is weakness. You can be a good person, a decent person, and still understand how the world works. You can be kind and still be sharp enough to not be taken advantage of. But if you don't know the rules of the game, you'll be turned into a pawn on someone else's chessboard. Think about it. We're taught a lot of things throughout our lives. Work hard, be polite, respect others. But how often do we learn how to recognize when someone is manipulating us? How often do we learn how to protect ourselves in a world where, believe it or not, everyone is playing their own power game? Machiavelli dared to write what everyone thought but did not dare to say. He looked at people not through the prism of ideal morality, but through the prism of harsh reality. And that is why what he wrote was both hated and desired to be understood. Because it was not only true, but also dangerous. Today, I'm going to walk you through that door. And I'm not going to sugarcoat things. Because if you really want to understand how people work, you have to accept that sometimes the truth isn't pretty. But once you see it, you can't unsee it again. You'll walk into every conversation with different eyes, different ears, and a whole new mindset. Are you ready? Because once I say it, you will never see the world the same again. And that will change everything. Have you ever wondered why sometimes when you give advice that is perfectly reasonable and logical, people still nod and ignore it? Or why some decisions in your life look completely emotional? The truth is, people don't act on reason as much as we think they do. Most of us don't choose what's best for us. We choose what makes us feel better. Right now. Machiavelli once wrote, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand." What does that mean? It means that people tend to judge things by what they see, not by what they actually experience or verify. They gravitate toward what looks appealing, rather than what actually benefits them. And when you understand this, you'll start to see examples all around you, everywhere. Think about that friend of yours who constantly asks you for dating advice. You spend hours analyzing them, pointing out the red flags, telling them to leave a toxic relationship. But they stay. Because their heart is seeking the security of familiarity rather than the uncertainty of a new beginning. Or your coworker, who complains about running out of money, but still buys Starbucks every day, posts stories about eating out, and buys something new. They know basic addition and subtraction. But the feeling of rewarding themselves now is much more important than the number in their bank account at the end of the month. Or romantic relationships. You hear people say they want to find a nice guy, someone who genuinely cares and respects them. But then you see them choosing the person who gives them the quick thrill over and over again, even at the cost of repeated hurt. What do all these examples have in common? Emotion trumps reason. When faced with a choice, people often choose what looks better over what is better. We are driven by the desire to avoid pain and seek comfort, rather than by an analysis of what is right in the long run. And here's the lesson to remember. Don't try to win someone over with logic alone. Don't think that giving them enough evidence will make them change their mind. Because their mind isn't calculating logic like a computer. It's asking, How does this make me feel? If you want to really make an impact, you need to tap into their emotions. Show them the picture they want to enter. Make them feel the change, not just understand it in theory. And this is not a trick or a gimmick. This is the only way to break through the emotional walls people put up to protect their comfort. People who are successful in communication, in business, in leadership, they understand this better than anyone else. They don't just tell you what's best for you. They give you the feeling that it's what you want right now. And when emotions are on one side, reason will find a reason to justify it. So next time you want to persuade someone, stop and ask yourself, am I speaking to make this person understand, or to make this person feel? If you make them feel hopeful, uplifted, made to see a better version of themselves, you win. Because in this world, the winner is not the one with the most arguments, but the one who controls the other person's emotions. Have you ever heard Machiavelli's quote, "If you have to choose between being loved and being feared, it is safer to be feared"? Sounds cruel, right? But hold your breath, because if you understand the real meaning behind it, it will completely change the way you look at loyalty. We're often taught that loyalty is everything: loyalty to friends, to companies, to lovers. But there's a truth that's rarely spoken. Loyalty without reciprocation is exploitation. If you keep giving without receiving anything in return, you are not a noble person. You are making yourself vulnerable to exploitation. Think about the friend who calls you when they need help, but disappears when you need them. Or the company that says, "We're family," but is ready to fire you without hesitation if things get tough. Or worse, a lover who keeps options open, but demands your absolute commitment. Those situations are not loyalty. They are a distortion of the power relationship, where you are the giver and the other person is the taker. Machiavelli does not advise us to be suspicious or cold. He simply reminds us that loyalty must have conditions and limits. Be generous. Be willing to stand by someone when they need you. But don't be blind. When someone breaks trust, you need to be willing to withdraw your loyalty. Otherwise, you send the message that you accept being taken for granted. The important thing is, loyalty must come from power and value yours, not from fear of losing a relationship, or the need to be accepted by others. When you are strong, you have the power to choose who you are worthy of being with. When you are valuable, others will want to keep your loyalty by treating you fairly and with respect. I know this is not easy to do, because sometimes, we are bound by emotion, by history, by memories. We say to ourselves, I can't turn my back on them, no matter what they did. But remember, loyalty is not unconditional tolerance. True loyalty is when both parties maintain and cherish the relationship. So the next time you ask yourself, should I stay loyal? Consider two things. Is the other person loyal to you? And is this commitment making you stronger or weaker? If the answer to the second is weaker, it's time to get up and leave the game. Loyalty is not a chain. It is a bond held together by mutual respect and values. And when you live by this principle, you will realize that the people who are truly worthy will never let you question their loyalty. You can spend your whole life trying to make people like you, but that doesn't mean they'll respect you. And when it comes to success, influence, or power, what you need isn't likability. It's respected. Machiavelli once said, everyone sees what you show on the outside, but only a few know who you really are. It may sound pessimistic, but it's an undeniable truth. In every social interaction, people don't respond to the real you. They respond to the version of you they see. And that leads to a vital principle. Reputation is strategy, not naked truth. This doesn't mean you have to be fake or dramatic 24/7. On the contrary, it's about the concept of strategic authenticity. You stay true to your core values, but you know how to filter and control what others see. Want to be seen as competent? Don't complain about problems all the time. Show up with solutions. When you speak, leave people feeling like they've heard someone who can solve problems, not someone who is overwhelmed by them. Want to be valued? Don't be available. Scarcity creates attraction. If you're everywhere, at all times, and on demand, you'll be taken for granted. But if you're there at the right time, with a meaningful contribution, your value will multiply. Want to be seen as powerful? Don't explain your decisions to people who can't influence them. Every time you have to justify your decisions to someone who isn't involved, you give them the power to judge you. Powerful people know that silence is sometimes more powerful than any excuse. And here is the implicit Machiavellian formula for creating irresistible attraction. Consistency plus mystery plus controlled vulnerability. Consistent help people trust you. If you say one thing today and another tomorrow, your reputation will be shaken. Secret make them curious. Never let people think they know everything about you. Controlled vulnerability, be approachable and authentic. But stay grounded. Share what makes you human. But never expose yourself to exploitation. Remember, the world doesn't run on who you are. It runs on who they think you are. And when you actively shape that image, you don't just control how others see you, you shape how they treat you. So don't just be real strategically. Because in the game of life, reputation is your ticket into rooms you never thought you'd be in. You may not like conflict. You may spend your whole life avoiding it. But remember what Machiavelli said: war cannot be avoided. It can only be postponed to the advantage of others. It sounds extreme. But the truth is, conflict is always there, even if you pretend it isn't. And if you don't prepare, you've lost before the battle even begins. Look around you. At work, there is always someone who wants your job. In love, there is always someone ready to replace you. In social relationships, there are always people who test your boundaries. Conflict is not a happening, it is an undercurrent. Quiet but always present, and only those who are prepared can stand firm when it rises to the surface. Being prepared doesn't mean living in fear or being suspicious of others. It means training before you need it, saving before you have it, and networking before you need it. If you wait until the storm hits to learn how to sail, it's too late. Think about the successful people you know. They don't always go looking for trouble, but they're ready when it comes. They hone their skills even when no one is challenging them. They save when money is plentiful. They network even when they don't need help. Because they understand that when conflict arises, you don't have time to prepare, you can only draw on what you've already saved. Machiavelli used the image of the fox and the lion to describe this wisdom. Fox don't recognize traps. For the world is full of traps wrapped in harmless appearances. Leonto intimidate wolves, because strength makes others hesitate before attacking you. Intelligence alone is not enough, and strength alone is not enough. The truly invulnerable person has both the wisdom of a fox and the strength of a lion. So ask yourself, if tomorrow you lost your job, lost a big contract, or were betrayed in a relationship, would you be ready? Do you have the skills to get back up, the resources to keep going, and the connections to open new doors? Conflict is not the enemy. It's a test of how well you're prepared. And when you're prepared, you won't just get through it, you'll make people think twice before they mess with you. There's a misconception I see everywhere, in the workplace, in relationships, in everyday conversations. People often equate kind with good. They may sound similar, but in reality, they're two completely different worlds. A nice person tries to avoid conflict, avoid unpleasant conversations, and tries to make people like them. They smile, nod, and sometimes say what they think others want to hear. But guess what? That makes them easy to despise. A nice person is different. They may not always make you happy, but they will tell you what you need to hear. They are willing to face the truth, even when it's hard to accept. And because of that, they are respected, even by those who disagree with them. The truth is, being kind but weak is not attractive. It makes you easy to take advantage of. Or worse, someone who others ignore. On the other hand, being strong but kind is attractive. When you are strong enough to hold your own boundaries, but still willing to help others when they need it, that is the combination that people respect and like. Machiavelli has pointed out a very practical perspective. People are too simple and easily led by immediate needs. And so, deceivers will never lack victims. Who will you be in this game? The one who is led, or the one who is clear-headed enough to see through? I've met so many people who think that if they just be nice and nice, everything will be okay, but they end up being abandoned, taken advantage of, or ignored because they can't say no when they need to. The price of just being nice is that you sacrifice respect for a little bit of acceptance, and often you don't get either. So if you want to be truly nice, start by being strong. Be willing to speak your mind, stand up for your values, and say No, when something goes against your principles. When you do this, your kindness becomes not just a fragile mask, but a force that can change the way others treat you. Remember, don't be a victim. Be a seer, because in a world full of people who are out to get you, strategic kindness, not blind kindness, is what keeps you grounded and worthy of respect. So there we have it. 5 truths that, once you truly understand, will never be the same again. First, people are not driven by reason. They are driven by emotion. Once you understand this, you will stop trying to argue with dry logic, and start to tap into your emotions to create real change. Second, loyalty is only valuable when it is reciprocated. You were not born to be a tool for others to use. Be generous with your loyalty, but never give it away unconditionally. Third, reputation is not a matter of the naked truth. It is a matter of strategy. People do not respond to who you are, but to the version of you they see. Controlling that image is controlling how they treat you. Fourth, conflict is inevitable. You may not like it, but if you are not prepared, you have already lost. Be as wise as a fox to avoid traps, and as strong as a lion to make others wary. And finally, being strong and being kind are not mutually exclusive. Being kind and weak will only make you vulnerable, but being strong and still kind will make you both respected and trusted. None of this is to make you scheming or cold. The point is to stand firm, unmoved by the storm, and play the game the world is playing, but with your eyes wide open and your mind active. Most people play this power game pretending it doesn't exist. Now that you know the rules, you can choose how to play the game so you never find yourself in a weak position. Machiavelli once said, "Better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both, if forced to choose." It is better to be feared than loved. But above all, remember this: never let yourself be ignored. Because when you are ignored, it means you are out of the game. Now you have the tools to never be overlooked again. The question is, how do you use them? Use them wisely, because once you understand and apply them, you will not only change the way others see you, you will change your life.